This is a response to TheseEyesGod. Her name's Teresa. Did a vlog, I guess you'd call it, or a journal on pondering free will. Does anybody really have free will? And to what degree do we have free will? In what context do we have free will? So I printed out this, I guess you call it a journal from TheseEyesGod on pondering free will. And she goes into a lot of different things in here. And I guess I'm going to try to, I was going to address all these one by one, but there's so much here. I mean, 12 pages or more. So I'm going to go, rather than going through all these little items, I'm going to give a more general idea on it. I found it a rather slippery thing because, I mean, how far back do you want to go? As a child, obviously you don't have free will, you got your parents ruling you. Let's not even go there yet. But basically, whether you choose to be atheist, agnostic, or believe in a religion, or even just believe in an afterlife without even necessarily believing in God, they all make big implications on how much free will we actually have. Even before we're born, many think that we choose our own incarnations. You know, and others don't believe that we do have anything before we're born. So, you know, right there you've got a big change between whether or not you're a theo, you know, God believing, or afterlife believing, agnostic, or atheistic. And I kind of made agnostic go along with atheistic first, but then it kind of curls back to being theistic, because if you're going to consider that, you gotta consider those implications, those limitations, I suppose you could say. It's kind of sounding like an argument for being atheist, but I'm not really going there. But the atheistic approach is more cut and dried. You've got laws and rights, you know, and that's basically it. You know, the libertarian idea of the end of you to swing your fist, it ends at the tip of my nose, or something like that, however that goes. But people can argue that they're ethical, not because of religion, but they're ethical out of reason. They reason to be not evil. They reason to be good. So you don't need religion for that. Now, if you go with a religion, you're inheriting a set of rules, or you go with any philosophy, you're inheriting a set of rules. You're necessarily right there limiting your free will, I suppose by choice, so ultimately it's your free will. But so much religion is put on us, you know, by our parents and by our society. And there's so much manipulation going on, manipulation of prophecy, more subtle manipulation like advertising and stuff like that, and politics, and, you know, the propaganda we're fed from both sides. But, you know, is there an afterlife? Is there karma or sin? That all affects your outlook on free will as well. Does God exist? Does it have to exist for there to be an afterlife? I don't necessarily agree there does have to be. I don't think that anybody of us really has their... I think the God concept itself is so varied that I don't think anybody's got a true understanding on that. That's just my opinion, of course. So, and like I said, you probably don't need a God for there to be other planes and heavens and an afterlife. Not necessarily, or not necessarily that particular concept of God is. God is a concept of someone on a throne who's got his own persona. I don't necessarily know if the ultimate God is that. Anyway, free will versus discipline. In my opinion, there's a time for each. If you're going to learn a new skill, then you really can't have your free will to just float around and do what you want. You got to obey the master of that skill to learn it. You've got to sacrifice your free will for a moment and try to go their way and figure out what they're doing. The same thing if someone's going to be a monk going into a temple. You're not going to go out there to be the rebel. You're going there to, take the austerities and live the life there, and that's how you learn that experience. Whether or not there's any value to that. So there's a time for each. You definitely don't want to be on someone else's game plan your whole life. There was a master called, his name was George King, and maybe he was just trying to get adherence from his followers, but one example he presented, and I can't remember the name of the two dogs, but he had two dogs, and one we'll call Sadie, the other one we'll call, I don't know, Sprite or something. Anyway, the one dog, it was a real free will. Open the door, he's out, and he's all over the place. The other dog was totally obedient. It would sit, it would stay, it would, follow all his rules and suggestions. Well, as a result, the dog who obeyed everything actually ended up with more freedom, because he couldn't take the free will dog anywhere. That dog would run off or cause trouble. Where the other well-behaved, well-mannered, trained dog, he could take her anywhere. And he knew that she was going to behave and not cause a problem. So the dog with less free will actually had a much better experience, a much wider range of experiences that the master was able to lead him through. So take that as you will. It kind of haunts me, though. Was it just propaganda to get adherence, or is it that's actually something to really consider. So there's a time for each, in my opinion. And the whole thing is about will. Are you going to lead it? Are you going to follow some leader or master or politician? Or are you going to lead yourself? And if you're going to lead yourself, are you going to lead yourself by a set of rules, either that you've made up or that you've garnered from some other place? Or are you just going to go total freeform? But the whole issue's got a lot of little things you could consider, and I guess none of us really have perfect free will.